Now, turn off all the lights and get ready to never sleep again. A mysterious man keeps showing up at my work. I finally learned the truth about him. By HorrorMode. It rained that night. Poured. I kept myself busy stocking bags of chips. I mopped the muddy shoe marks on the entrance floor as the refrigerators hummed in the background. That electrical hum was annoying, but it served as a kind of musical replacement to the radio, which wasn't working that night. My friend Ethan secured me for this job at his father's gas station. It's not that working at a gas station is an impressive feat or anything, but I'm certainly not one to complain about getting a job. Any job. After all, as my own father would often tell me, that's what you get when you major in English, Andrew. Nothing. He warned me when I was younger to always keep my nose stuck in a book, but then lamented my decision to do just that. But he was right, actually. It's not a practical skill. It was around 2 a.m. when I spotted a frantic man in the parking lot. I refused to take a single step outside and get myself wet, but he kept waving, almost jumping up and down as he did. I worried for a moment that he might have been injured or was at least in some kind of emergency. It definitely looked urgent. It was dark, but the gas station's logo illuminated the entire parking lot, coloring it in white and blue. I waved for the man to come closer, as he was too far into the dark. I yelled over the rain, waving and waving until he finally came forward. He took off his hat, his eyes squinting at the logo's light. He raised one hand up to his face to shield his eyes from the brightness, and that's when he was finally able to spot me, standing just outside the entrance. The man was quite tall. He was wearing a dark brown business suit with a white vest, his feet sporting shiny black loafers. He had a set of uncombed gray hair and thick eyebrows which looked worried, always pointing upwards throughout our conversation. "You know we're open, right?" I yelled, hoping he'd hear me over the rain. "We're 24 hours, sir." The man stepped forward, his loafers clacking against the wet concrete with each step. He dropped his umbrella on the ground, allowing the rain to soak his hair. "Have you seen my son?" "Your son?" I replied. I didn't think it was possible, but very suddenly the man looked even more worried. His face changed and his mouth tightened as if to cry. "Sir?" I asked, concerned. He looked at me as if he forgot I was there. You haven't seen him, have you?" the man stuttered. "What's his name? I don't have any customers here right now, but maybe he came by earlier. You want to come inside? Maybe get out of this rain?" The man fell to his knees. It looked like he was preparing to plead with me, as if I had a son, as if I was holding him hostage back in the freezer room. He gazed at me with those worried eyes. He looked hypnotized almost. "He's my son, you see?" The man was beginning to scare me, emitting from him quite the creepy vibe. "Sir, I'm going back inside to call the police. Maybe they can help you, okay?" As I walked back to the counter, I watched the man from window to window. Before I could dial the second one, I looked through the small square glass next to the counter to find that the man was gone. I went outside, sheltered under the roof of the gas station, and scanned the parking lot. I didn't see him. When my shift ended at 7 a.m., Ethan arrived. "Anything new?" he asked, zipping up his work jacket to prepare for his shift. "Yeah," I replied. "Before I go home, I think I should warn you." "About?" "Well," I began, moving closer to him. "Around 2 or 2:30 in the morning, just a few hours ago, a man showed up. He didn't come inside or anything, but he kept screaming about his son. He left eventually, but just in case he comes back." Oh, don't worry about him, man. That's Mr. Carson. Yeah, he's crazy. Don't know how else to put it. He comes by often, yelling about weird things, Ethan said. I tilted my head in confusion. You sure, Ethan? Because if he's been coming here and doing that, that's harass. Andrew, he interrupted me. Don't worry. I arrived at the gas station the next day at 11 p.m. The night went about normally the first few hours. Customer after customer stopped by, purchasing gas, cigarettes, snacks, cheap pizza, and on and on. It was around 2 in the morning when the man showed up again. I was behind the counter when I heard his faint yell. It sounded like someone repeatedly calling out, trying to get my attention through the weatherly ruckus. I looked out the gas station window and made out the figure of a tall man standing in the parking lot, but the shapes were blurred by raindrops racing down the pane. I reluctantly got up and walked over to the entrance. When the automatic doors opened, a forceful wind blew off my hoodie. I had to hold it in place to keep it on. What do you want? I yelled. Ethan told me about you. You come here often, don't you? Well, if you come again, especially when I'm here, then I'm calling the cops. The man stepped forward into the white blue lights that shone against the glossy, puddled concrete. My son, said the man. Have you seen him? Before I could turn around and walk back to the counter in frustration, the man fell to his knees and yelled. Please, he cried. Haven't you seen him? I'm sure he was here. I'm sure of it. His screams were not normal. When he spoke, his voice almost echoed, and it shook me to my core. His eyes widened abnormally as he looked up at the clouds, begging and begging. And from that moment on, whenever I tried speaking with him, he ignored me, like I wasn't even there. A bolt of lightning struck across the black sky, accompanied by a sharp clap of thunder. With that, all the lights went out. With the electricity momentarily cut, the gas station was pitch black, and the automatic entrance doors left open. No longer was the logo illuminating the parking lot or the man. I could see nothing at all. But as I swore back then, and as I'll swear now, I heard something. Before the lights flipped back on, as I stood frozen in fear between the snack aisle, I heard the distant sound of a terrible crash. A car crash. I heard a set of wheels scrape and burn against tar before hearing the smashing of metal against something. It was unmistakable. When the electricity came back, the man was gone. The next day, when I told Ethan about the man, he dismissed him and me. He said that the man, Mr. Carson, was just a creepy guy who was no stranger at all to the gas station. Ethan's dealt with him before, as well as his father. I asked Bobby, a customer who I had grown fond of, if he had any information on the strange man and why he was doing this. You mean Mr. Carson? Yeah, him, I replied. His name's not Carson, you know. I paused. Really? That's what Ethan said his name was. Bobby gave me a look of pity. Oh no, that's just what us folks around here got to calling him. I guess Ethan and his dad never told you, huh? Well, in that case, I won't either. They must have a reason for not saying nothing. Probably didn't want to scare you. I responded by squinting my eyes at Bobby. What are you talking about? They didn't want to scare me. Could you at least tell me that this tall, mysterious umbrella man's name? I'm the one who has to deal with him during the night shift, you know. He put down a pack of mint gum on the counter and looked behind himself. I really shouldn't tell you this, Andrew, but his real name is... Bobby's phone interjected into our conversation. It did look like an important call, so he gave me an apologetic look and left the gas station. But just when I thought he was gone, Bobby came back inside and slapped a note onto the counter. He told me to give him a call when I was able to if I ever wanted to learn more. And so I did. Bobby revealed everything to me, but not before making me promise multiple times not to share it with anyone else, especially Ethan and his father, who valued me as an employee at their business. Apparently, everyone who's ever worked there ended up quitting when they found out about the mysterious man, or Mr. Carson, or Umbrella Man, Tall Man, whatever you want to call him. But his real name is Weston Campbell. Bobby said that one night, a boy named Alex got in his car and fled from his home after a heated argument with his parents. Alex drove past a nearby gas station around 2 in the morning. Some say it was an accident, but others suggest something more sinister. And still others, suicide. Nobody knows, of course, but the fact remains that Alex's vehicle went off a bridge that rainy night. He died on impact. The words that came out of Bobby's mouth told my ears a tragic story, but it's what he said next that truly shocked me, sending shivers down my already shivering spine, shaking my beliefs, shaking them out of me like loose change. Weston Campbell, Alex's father, got into a vehicle of his own when his son fled the house, trying to catch up and follow him. He knew that Alex frequented a nearby gas station for cigarettes and whatnot, so he stopped by to ask the employee that night if they had seen Alex. Weston exited his vehicle with an umbrella and asked the employee over and over again if they had seen his son or if they had seen his car go by. And when the employee answered no, Weston got back in his vehicle. Weston continued down the road, but didn't get too far. He sped until he, too, lost control. His vehicle swerved as he made a sharp turn against the wet streets, crashing into a large tree. And that was the end of it. Weston Campbell has been dead for 10 years. That night saw the loss of 2 people, leaving behind a shattered Maria Campbell, who became a childless widow. Apparently, this tragedy was well known to the townspeople, especially anyone who lived near the gas station. What wasn't well known, except to those who dared to work the night shift, was Weston's hauntings. I've kept my mouth shut about it, especially at work. Whenever I see Ethan or his father, I act normally, stocking the refrigerators and mopping the tiled floors. And whenever Bobby walks in, which is quite often, we share a look with each other, a look of secrecy. Whereas employees before me ran for the exit at the sight of Winston, and worse, when they learned his story, I, on the other hand, stayed put. He wasn't going to hurt me, nor was he going to hurt anyone. He just wanted to find his son. Even as I finished writing this, as the rain pounds heavily against the roof of the gas station, I can hear a faint yell, a yell fighting against the weather to get to my ears. And looking out of the window to my left, I can even see him now, waving. I think it's about time for me to get up from behind this counter to go greet him once again. Greetings, spoils and ghouls. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss out. If you have a request or suggestion, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. We hope you enjoyed this video, and remember to stay spooky.